Good morning, one and all. To the Preport, I'm John Arola. It's a Friday, and we're going to close out the week right with our headline story. Meghan McCain has made it her 24/7, only goal in life is to cause Kari as much pain as possible. And she makes a couple of good points in the little update we're going to talk about in a bit. It's also going to provide me with an opportunity to talk a little bit about Kari Lake, which I'm not going to turn down. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, before we get to that, though, we do have a lot of other stuff to talk about. And I want to start off in a way that I haven't normally, but maybe we'll start to do this more regularly. As you know, on the Friday edition of the Damage Report, I do my garbage person of the week. Well, I sometimes have runners-up that don't make it. And I want to talk about one that, if I had discovered this story earlier, might have been my garbage person. I'm very torn on this. So I'm going to give that to you in one sec. But first, I will say, welcome everyone to the Preport. It looks like about 1 out of 3 of you have hit the like button. In Preports, we hit the like button. It's our tradition. It's a little thing that we do. So please hit the like button. That would be nice. And I will give you my garbage person. Now, my garbage person is named James DePaula. Although, if you saw James DePaula appear on Jesse Waters' show, you might not know, because he wasn't named James DePaula on that. He was brought on as James Lee, and he was brought on to talk to Jesse Waters about basically the only thing that they talk about on Fox News these days, which is the migrant crime. Because, of course, they believe we got to get Donald Trump back in office. And if people think about what a crazy person he is, or how he's going to shred our Constitution, or how he's going to take away all your rights, they're not going to vote for him. So, migrant crime? I mean, the stats don't bear it out. There's no crime wave. In fact, we're going to be talking about that on the show. So they just keep saying that it exists. And they want to bring on people, because they can't just have Jesse Waters say it for 10 hours a day. So they bring this guy on. He interrupted a press conference, and I think had to get thrown out because he was trying to pretend that migrants are killing everyone. Now, that's not why he's a garbage person. He's a garbage person for something he did earlier in his life. I'm going to turn to that in one sec, but Jason P., thank you for becoming a member. Love the members. You make us stable. You make sure that we can keep doing this. And also love the subscribers, by the way. A lot of you have been becoming subscribers on a daily basis. As I've said, my goal for this year, by election day, is for TDR to finally reach the lofty heights of the 1 million subscribers club. I think it'll go very nicely with our 1 billion views club membership. So please become a subscriber if you haven't already. And with that, let's turn to James DePaula. Okay, so this is him back in 2023. Let's see, we have 2020. Looks like a guy who knows something about crime waves. He seems to have been on his own crime wave over the past few years. But that's not why he's the garbage person. He's the garbage person because James DePaula, or James Lee, or whatever he's going by, is a man who has very particular tastes when it comes to grilled cheese sandwiches. And God help you if you get the recipe wrong. And that's not a hypothetical. Back in 2016, his daughter had to call the police on him because when he asked for a grilled cheese sandwich, and obviously asked for his wife to make it because he couldn't figure out the recipe if you gave him the rest of his life, she made him a grilled cheese sandwich. And she put 3 slices of cheese on it. And that just drove him into a homicidal werewolf rage. Angered at the sight of all the extra cheesiness. This is from, I believe it's Time, back in 2016. Angered at the sight of all the extra cheesiness, James DePaula became agitated and violent, yelling at the woman, Michelle DePaula. According to WSB-TV, he then ripped the landline out of the wall so his wife couldn't call the police and began screaming at her intensely. The couple's 12-year-old daughter, who's witnessing this entire cheese-based breakdown, then called the police to the scene. He was charged with obstruction of a 911 call and criminal trespass/damage to property over what the police now refer to as the grilled cheese incident. He has a history of abusive behavior, you'll be shocked to find out, and was often, quote, excessively critical and controlling of day-to-day things in life, including, but not limited to, grilled cheese sandwiches. And here is his mugshot from that. Obviously, he has degraded quickly since then. So look, I don't know if that was the only grilled cheese incident. I don't know if he's lost his mind over other sorts of sandwiches. Paninis became popular at some point since then. That might have been a rough time for him because if you don't press it exactly right, he might lose his mind. But anyway, the point of all this is to say, when you go on Fox News to be like, the brown people are coming and they're breaking the law, I don't know, like, glass houses, if you are, like, routinely arrested, and also, like, okay, maybe we can't expect him to be honest about who he is, but does Jesse Waters know? Does Jesse Waters care that he's bringing on people who are their own personal walking crime wave to imply that someone from Guatemala is such a unique threat that the entire border needs to be shut down until the end of days? Anyway, that makes him my garbage person. And you know what? I'm going to throw Jesse Waters in there as well. But anyway, we have other stories to get to, and we will. Flower Dragon, member for 38 months, says, haha, had to repair my remote to be able to hit the like button. Worth it. Happy Friday, Dragon Daddy. Thank you. Janet's asking about paper shredder. I like the idea. I don't have a paper shredder, and I am a little bit worried about the sound. At some point, I do want to have physical... We used to have them physically printed out to put in there, in color. We don't have that anymore, unfortunately. But we're running low on time, so I do need to move on to other stories. Again, half of you have hit the like button. That's awesome. The other half, slightly less awesome, but thank you for being here. And let's move to Donald Trump, who is receiving pushback from conservative activists online because they're worried he might be gay. Why? You know, you'd think years and years of multiple marriages and apparently being a sexual predator when it comes to women for decades now would give him sort of at least some side effects of heterosexual credentials. But no, you see, Mar-a-Lago allowed a gay wedding to happen. No! No! Say it ain't so! Looks like a lovely wedding, actually. That looks like a great cake. Huge cake, big cake for the wedding. And that is unacceptable to the right-wing activists. Morgan Ariel, Christian activist, Lioness for Jesus, says Donald Trump is hosting gay weddings at the Mar-a-Lago. The Mar-a-Lago? And people still think he's going to save America. He could have. He could have saved America. But then he let two guys who love each other get married. The deep state wins, I guess. The international cabal of pedophiles gets to win because two guys got to cut a cake and maybe also a rug. Anyway, Stu Peters, who's a person, look, I'm going to tell you what he says, and then I'm going to show you something. I'm not going to say why I'm showing it to you. Okay? Hold on one sec. Joe Gutierrez says, the doctor you had on yesterday was making the rounds. He's also on Pac-Man. That's cool. That's awesome. Well, he gave us a great interview, and more clips are coming out about that. So, Stu Peter says, Trump hosting gay weddings at Mar-a-Lago is cringe AF. Yes, that is cringe AF. Not whatever the hell this profile photo is supposed to be. That also has the side effect of pretending that he's 15 to 20 years younger than he actually is. Anyway, that's what's cringe. You see, Trump allowed two people to pay him probably a lot of money to get married, and so now he's questionable. I guess he's not putting America first anymore. Freaking ridiculous. Of all of the things to be mad at Trump for, I honestly think, look, I think, you know, outside of all the political stuff, Donald Trump probably doesn't care much at all about people's sexuality, / is probably casually homophobic. If I had to guess, bias aside, that's what I would say. Now, obviously, as a Republican, he has to, you know, demonize trans people and LGBTQ, all that. But that's what I actually believe is the case, and that's not good enough for them, I guess. Okay, now, I'm gonna play this clip for you, so you can see it now, but also because I want it to be on your mind when we do the full show coming up in a little bit, which Jason Carter is gonna be joining me on. So we're gonna be talking about the migrant crime wave and the actual facts. So when we talk about that, I want you to be thinking about this and Janine Pirro's pathetic attempt to avoid some inconvenient facts.
Just said, look, Is there a drop in crime? Maybe, because police have been defunded, so there are no police to arrest crimes.
Okay, so first of all, I love the idea that there's no police to arrest crimes. I do often think that rather than going for the criminals, we should lock up the crimes themselves. They are, at the end of the day, the worst part of this process, but whatever, we're gonna set that aside. So her argument, so first of all, you know the evidence against a crime wave is bad when Fox is acknowledging it. Now she says, is crime down? Maybe. What the fuck are you talking about with maybe? This ain't up for debate. You can say it's not down literally everywhere simultaneously. You can say that. You can say that the drop in different categories of crime isn't constant across all of them. Some of them are dropping faster than others, and we'll give you all that information on the full show. But it's not a fucking maybe. That's what it is. But then, don't worry, she has a defense. It's because the police were defunded. Now, I love that that is her theory because, like, you know, it's interesting, just saying, considering all that they've said about defund the police over the past few years. But what she means there is that the crime rate isn't actually down, okay? It's that police were defunded, which, just as a side note, no, they fucking weren't. What the fuck are you talking about? You've got like one town in California that did a brief cut. Police across the nation are not defunded, okay? But even if they were, the idea is that people just, it's not being logged. How does she think murder works? Does she think that they only track a murder when they catch the murderer? Do they think that someone's spouse was murdered? So they called up the police. Nobody answered for 5 minutes because they're so defunded and they're like, oh, well, I guess that's a I guess that's a freebie. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. That's just not how it works. And Jeanine Pirro, like this moment right here, this is her whole job. Her job is to run cover for conservatives, to maintain the narrative despite reality. And she's so bad at it. And she's paid millions of dollars. And Fox, just give me half that money and I will do a much better job. But anyway, we're going to give you the actual numbers on the show, so stay tuned for that. Couple of quick little notes before we get to our main story. First of all, I just want your thoughts. A third of young voters said they would not vote, or they wouldn't want to be friends with someone who voted for a different presidential candidate. I think that is interesting. I was trying to think of any friends of mine who might have voted for the other guy, and I don't know that there is many. I think it would really, our friendship would depend on the nature of the friendship, but I get it. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it kind of goes to the core of who you are. Like, if you're a Democrat and your friend votes for Trump, that's not like one small fact about them. It's not a little thing. That's a lot all wrapped up in one action. Anyway, I also wanted to say, not to be a downer, but the man who died after self-immolation as part of a protest over what's happening to the Palestinian people had put a Palestinian fund into his will. So his savings went to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, which just... Again, I will say, look, obviously I don't want people to self-immolate themselves. I've said that before, I'll say it again. But I will say, there is such a huge difference in how much different people care about what's happening. And it's very often hidden. Like you think, well, you know, Ben Shapiro talks about the news a lot. I guess he cares a lot on the other side. No. That's not actually a measure of how much you care, how much this is a real thing versus just like a sport that you watch. Anyway, let's move to our full story, or our biggest story, the one that interests me the most. Over 1,200 of you have hit the like button. That is slightly more than half. Still pretty good. So thank you for that. And let's talk now about Meghan McCain and Kari Lake. They have been feuding now for weeks. I mean, technically years. Ever since Kari Lake mocked her father, called him a loser, and told any of his supporters to get out of the Republican Party. She said that a couple of years ago, and goddamn is she regretting that to this day. every day, day by day, because of Meghan McCain, a person who I'm not a big fan of Meghan McCain. I don't think that I could go into, I don't think the media career she had was earned in the traditional sense. I think she makes a lot of stupid points. But anyway, here in defending her father, I think that she is right. And what's interesting is that there was a Fox News article 2 days ago that said that Democrats are drawing attention to the feud to hurt Kari Lake, which is only partly true. Like, I've covered it now several times because it's fascinating, and also because, despite how biased I am against the right, when someone on the right makes good points, or points that, you feel for them when they're making them, I like to cover that. Also, I think that this could hurt Kari Lake. So it's not 100% wrong. That's part of why I want to cover it, but I just find it to be fascinating. Meghan McCain responded to that article and is like, no. Don't try to turn this onto the Democrats. She says Democrats have nothing to do with this feud. Kari Lake has done all of this to herself and is now living with the ramifications from it. She told McCain Republicans to get the hell out, and we all have. And that, at the end of the day, is the much more important part of this. When she tweets at, Kari Lake, no peace, bitch, that's hilarious. I like it. I really enjoy it. But that, at the end of the day, isn't the most important part. The most important part is, what effect will this feud and the rift between different sections of the party that it represents, what damage will that do to Kari Lake's chances of winning office? That's what she, at the end of the day, cares about, not about the social media stuff. And I wonder, is Meghan McCain right? Are there still so many McCain Republicans that will remember what Kari Lake said, perhaps because Meghan McCain keeps saying it, and actually avoid voting for her as a result of that? I don't know for sure. I honestly don't. But there is some evidence to think that there is. And that is not what Meghan McCain is doing. It's what Kari Lake is doing. Kari Lake would not be trying every day to heal the rift with Meghan McCain if she didn't think that the rift was important or noteworthy. And so, again, I don't know how it'll break down. I don't know how many votes that actually represents. But every day, Kari Lake gives indications that she is worried about it. And that is just one more thing for me to draw some pleasure out of in this story. So, look, I don't know how long this is going to go. I'm assuming in relatively short order, I'm going to go back to either not paying attention to Meghan McCain or despising every word out of her mouth. But for now, I'm here for it. And if you want to see Kari Lake not make it into office, and I think that should be everybody's position, the idea that she could enter into the Senate is absolute madness, then hey, this is one important tool to stop someone utterly unqualified from holding that office from taking it. That is unfortunately all the time we have for the pre-port. Thank you to the 2,900 of you who are watching live, the more than half who hit the like button, particularly the rest of you. You know what you are. You're dead to me. But definitely tune into the full show coming up in just 9 minutes with me and Jason Carter. I'll see you then. Oh, hit the like button on the way out, by the way, if you haven't already, and then I'll see you.